obviously I was raised in the UK, so went to school and university mostly in the UK. But I was lucky enough to do, well, I did an international degree, so I did, I guess, a double degree in languages and business at the same time, which allowed me to spend a couple of years overseas as part of my studies. Thanks to the European Union, which is obviously no longer for a UK perspective. But I studied in Paris and in Amsterdam. And I think that's kind of where I got a little bit of the traveling bug, but also, I guess, the interest in cultures and the diversity of views and thoughts. After that, I then went back to the UK and finished my studies and started kind of on a graduate scheme in London with a marketing business and a marketing insight business. Fast forward a few years, I was with another agency, and the opportunity, they bought a business in China, and I was with WPP Group. They bought a business in China, and they were looking for people who would move to China to kind of, well, go and work for a year. I had been on a few business trips at that point to actually to Guangzhou and Shanghai. And I was, mid-20s, recently single, just put my hand up and thought, I'll go to it. Perhaps a little naive, to be honest. The culture shock of arriving in China in the early 2000s was quite challenging. Really, people not speaking English on the street. A lot of my team not speaking English as a sort of first line was certainly interesting, but also taught me a lot about, really how you communicate, really understanding quite how much culture has an influence on our perspectives and experiences. And from then I moved to Hong Kong, ran an agency for M&C Saatchi Group. From there, moved down to Singapore and ran the same agency, but I launched the Singapore office for them. And then a couple of years ago, I kind of realised I was a regional MD. I was travelling a lot. I was working with some amazing clients, but I didn't quite feel fulfilled myself and needed to understand what the next level was going to be. Really that salary and sort of job titles weren't meaning as much as they were in my sort of early 30s. So I decided to launch an agency called Hello Sister. And Hello Sister focuses on helping businesses understand women specifically. Obviously, we are not one creature. We're very, very different the world over. And, even in the same country, there's very big differences between different types of women, attitudinal differences, behavioural differences, socio-demographic differences. Yet a lot of marketeers kind of feel that speaking to women, talk about pink things, fluffy, floral things. My joke is that put Hello Kitty on it in Asia and it'll sell. Obviously, we're far more complicated than that. So I've been helping businesses for the last 4 years really craft communication, deliver content, deliver product ideas, and sort of sharpen their strategy in terms of what really matters to women rather than what men in sort of, not always men, but not what people in head offices often think is what women want. And then separately, about a year ago, myself and an ex-client actually, we got more and more interested in women in the workplace, and I've been asked a few times to understand women in the workplace, and we recognised that the real sort of diversity and inclusion issues in Asia are very different to the ones that are in Europe or the US or even Australia, and a lot of businesses were struggling to implement initiatives and changes in the region because they've kind of taken something from another market and just expected it to work here. So Side by Side is the latest business I've got. Hello Sister's still running and I'm still doing work on that business, but Side by Side is diversity and inclusion focused consulting for Asia. So it's looking at initiatives, solutions, working with teams to help land solutions that will help not just women, but initiatives around race, around age, around different backgrounds. Of course, gender is kind of at the forefront of most businesses we speak to, but really all encompassing diversity and inclusion. Obviously, globally, in the last year, there's been a lot of stuff going on. Black Lives Matter are rising out of the US, and particularly in the more Western markets, people have been very, very vocal about that. I think honestly, in Asia, the response hasn't been quite as dramatic. I feel that the issues and the challenges of Black Lives Matter are still relevant in Asia, but obviously pure Black Lives Matter is less discussed here, is less cognizant amongst consumers. However, there is an awful lot of what we call woke consumers in the region, people who are starting to make a stand against brands and businesses and societies that are not egalitarian, and starting to make decisions to stop buying products from certain businesses that they see aren't aligned with their certain values. And it can be everything. It doesn't just have to be race, it can be gender, the businesses that aren't treating women very fairly. So that definitely in 2020 is consumers are starting to make decisions and being far more focused on, making decisions based on their own values, not just what is on the shelf. So that's kind of that's really quite exciting thing, and I think there's still a lot of space for that to evolve and become more relevant to more and more consumers, especially the youth market. Separately, COVID-19 obviously affected I think I saw read the other day, there's only about 7 countries in the world where COVID hasn't affected them. It's obviously affected very many markets. Women especially have really suffered with the whole sort of work from home situation. So many kids having to be homeschooled. A lot of that has fallen to women's shoulders, even though, most people at home are equal parents or both parents. And that has obviously caused a lot of frustration for women. Workplaces have had to understand that women are not necessarily available from 9 to 5 when they're trying to oversee schooling, etc. So there really has been a chasm opened in terms of gender inequality in the home place, which affects the workplace as well. And I think there's a lot of businesses who've been as understanding as possible. Equally, though women have actually been dying less of COVID worldwide, women are also the people who are most likely to have lost jobs, because a lot of the jobs that have been lost have sort of been in the retail and leisure sector, sort of hotels, F&B, where principally it is women who worked in those sectors, and they're kind of the first ones to go. Obviously some countries have done a lot, as much as they can to support them financially, but it really has left women really on the back foot, sort of coming out of I think some markets are coming out of the COVID crisis. Obviously, many of them are still very much in the centre of them. But in some ways, I kind of feel like it's created an awful lot of awareness, and discomfort that women experience has really been apparent. And businesses are going to have to step up if they want to have women in the workforce, which they know they need to really have balanced workforces, diversity of opinion and perspective, etc. They need to make parenthood sort of forefront of some of the solutions and initiatives that they're putting in place. So although it's a negative, I kind of see that it's positive, that awareness of issues makes people take action and makes more people aware and realising that there are sort of some serious issues. I think being agile is kind of, I'm actually, I think I mentioned to you before, I'm doing masters at the moment in, the masters is called digital transformation, but the way that I see it, the modules that we're covering are things like design, understanding technology, literally agile thinking, creative thinking, and I feel that a lot of them are skills that everybody in the workplace has to take on. I think women really, if we want to propel forward, we do need, being agile is kind of the most important thing you can do. Just because you're stuck in one role doesn't mean that you only have to stay in that role. Build up skills in technology, and it doesn't need to, I don't mean you have to learn coding necessarily, although I know there's a lot of women who are learning coding and shifting careers as a result of it, but make sure your tech skills are up to date in terms of understanding Google Analytics, for example, if your role is anything relevant to marketing, understanding databases or something. Look at how you can carry on skilling yourself and upskilling throughout your career. I've always looked at, and there's a lot of courses out there that are free. So I think there's always opportunities to improve yourself, and some things may not get you a pay rise immediately, they may not get you a promotion immediately, but you never know when those sort of skills will come in handy down the line. And I think if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that businesses who are agile and people who are agile were able to get jobs better quicker if they lost them. Businesses who are agile and could turn very quickly to go online and have everybody work from home very quickly, they're the ones who fared far better. And I just think, agility and constantly looking to learn are probably the biggest behaviours and skills that we need to take forward. I think, as I kind of alluded, when I moved to China, I was a little bit naive. I didn't really research properly. I'd been to the country a couple of times. The reality of living there was very different to going there in business. But I think that the key thing that taught me was, like, you need to take chances, you need to take risks. And it's relatively easy to do that as a sort of 25-year-old if you're single and can just move around the world with a drop of a hat. It's obviously very different if you're, later 30s, you've got a couple of kids, and your risks sort of seizing maybe very, very different. But I think that's kind of one of the key things I've learned for myself, is that if you don't take risks, you don't get the rewards that risks deliver you as well. I think it's also confidence. One of the things I've been working with, Google do a fantastic initiative called I Am Remarkable, which I'm sure you're aware of, which really enables women to recognise that a lot of their skills and their achievements that they may not feel are achievements are actually, bona fide achievements that they should be talking about. There's a big difference between men and women, is that women will underreport their achievements, men will overreport their achievements. They say women are normally 120% ready for a new role, when men are 80% claiming that they're ready for the new role. So I think speaking up and being proud of what you have achieved, modesty has no place in the workforce when it comes to getting promotions. And I think that's the one thing I've always been quite confident. My inner self is often very concerned about what people think of me, whether I'm really delivering the right sort of quality of work for clients and things. But externally, people don't often see that. And I think I've really tried to dial up my own confidence, and clients see that, my colleagues see that. And I think that's the one area that I really think women have to focus on to be taken seriously. And the reality is, men do it naturally. And if we want to compete on the same stage as men, we have to ensure that we're playing on the same level as them. And that means to be, it's not lying about achievements, it's just ensuring that people know about your achievements, and no matter how small that they are.